Hello, beloveds. I am here with Liz Bachmann of Wildflower Social Media, and we were connected through a mutual friend. And this person said, I think y'all might have some things in common. And I spoke with Liz for the first time towards the end of my day, and I had set aside 30 minutes. And after an hour and a half, we were both like, well, we probably should go eat dinner and go, do other things. And so I promise you this interview won't be an hour, but it might be a little bit shorter than that. I don't know. So we're going to be diving into both her debt-free degree story, but also the ways that what she's doing with her social media company is empowering folks to have financial freedom. And so with that, Liz, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are delighted you're here.
Thank you, Dr. S.
So let's go ahead and get started. I want to walk through your debt-free degree story first. I was so intrigued when I heard, I love when students do have a debt-free degree story. And my triangle approach, just for those of you that aren't aware, my triangle approach, which is the T in GRIT, in the GRIT debt-free degree blueprint, is SM, which is student money. And so we're going to be talking, Liz, about the ways that you had an impact in that. FM, your friends, your family, your folks, the people you're familiar with. So, what was their contribution? And then OPM, how we use what's our favorite, which is other people's money. And so can you walk through, Liz, sort of what was your part? What was, FM, your friends or your family? And then what was OPM?
Yeah. So I'm really lucky. When me and Dr. Roz, when we were talking about this earlier, I wanted to make it very, very clear how lucky I feel that I am in the situation that I'm in. But so the first little bit was I scholarshiped. I had 2 merit-based scholarships into the university that I went to, and obviously that cuts down on costs.
Yeah.
But I did go to a private school, so it did not knock everything else. And then my parents had saved for a college fund to cover the rest of that degree and allow me to be able to kind of focus on school and not have that student debt. And then in order to kind of minimize my overall costs, I did freelancing work and stuff like that. I didn't have to pay any of my tuition with that or any of my books with that, but it did. There are costs to college besides just your books and your tuition.
Yeah. And so the OPM piece was the 2 scholarships that you earned. And do you remember, was the criteria just on grades? Was it SAT? Was it high school ranking?
I actually didn't even submit an SAT score, so I don't think it was that.
Okay.
But yeah, it was. So one of them was grades, was your GPA, from my understanding, and that was just the president's scholarship. And then the other one was more specific to my major, so I had to do a whole application for that. The first one, my application to the school, was my application for that scholarship.
Okay.
The second one was I wanted to go into communications, and so I applied for the communications scholarship. So obviously grades factored in, but I also kind of submitted a resume and wrote an essay, I think it was.
Excellent. And so did you have both of those merit scholarships? Well, first of all, how many years or how many semesters did you take to graduate?
I took, all right, Liz, come on now. I did 3.5 years, and my last, the semester before I graduated, I was part-time.
Okay, excellent, outstanding. That's fabulous. And so did you have both of them that entire duration?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So you already knew what your major was going in?
Sort of. So the scholarship was a communications scholarship. We had a school of communications, and you could move within that school and keep your scholarship, but you needed to keep a major in that school. Okay. Very good. I actually went in as a journalism major and then switched to strategic communications myself.
Okay. But you're still, as you said, under that umbrella. And
I
so
knew I wanted to do something like that. Yeah.
That's one of the things I talk about in terms of financial freedom, in terms of, making wise decisions to help you earn a debt, to help you earn a debt-free degree, is having some understanding of what you want to do. And if you change your major, change it to something where most everything that you've taken, perhaps even everything, like if you're in the same school, if you've gone from journalism to what did you say, social media?
Strategic communications,
then probably everything transferred over. There was probably nothing in one of those degrees that wouldn't have counted in the other. And so that's something really that folks need to be thinking about. The other thing is, one of them she got because she applied to the school. I imagine, Liz, you also applied really early. Is that right?
Yeah, so I applied early decision. I actually, unlike pretty much everybody in my high school graduating class, knew where I was going and for how much money before Christmas of my senior year of high school. So that spring semester was just,
yeah.
I mean, it was stressful because I was doing all these like AP and IB classes. That's one of the ways that I got the scholarships that I got. But that was all I was having to worry about.
Yes. Which is also how you were able to graduate in 3.5 years. I'm such a huge proponent of the understanding that there's no educational value to graduating college in 8 semesters versus 10, whatever. However, one way to really reduce the time in college and therefore the cost is to use some of these ways to earn credit without having to pay tuition. And so both your AP and your IB credits, I'm sure, went into that. And then did you by any chance do like CLEP or DSST, any credit by examination? No. Okay.
No. Oh, well, like a credit by examination, you mean like testing to see where, like,
yes.
So I did that for Spanish.
Excellent.
Yeah, I did that for Spanish, and I had the option to not take Spanish in college. I did decide to take one more semester, just one more class of it, because I had the space in my schedule, and it is important to at least kind of understand more than one language, in my opinion.
Yeah. Outstanding. So then you graduated, and can you talk a little bit about, and yes, you're very forthright to say that you do have family support, and I do appreciate that. And also you had to do the work list, like you had to maintain your grades. And so I appreciate that you want to give your parents the exact credit that they're due, and they are. And also, I want my students to understand that even if you don't have the type of financial support that Liz had and all the other ways that they supported her, you still have a lot on your shoulders that you need to do. And so can you talk a little bit about like, let's say, for example, if you had, because you said you went to a private school, so perhaps there were friends that didn't have your level of support, and maybe they did, have to take out a bunch of loans. Can you talk about what you see as your trajectory and how it's different from someone than, say, takes $100,000 in loans?
Yeah, absolutely. So referencing back to like keeping the scholarships there, like with both of mine, it required that I kept a 3.0 and a 3.2 for the entirety. There was no like,
wow, okay.
So like you really had to take your classes seriously in order to keep that.
Okay.
So that was where the pressure was on the books, but just like high school. But so I did have friends who took out loans, and they aren't able to make the types of decisions that I am able to make. They're very smart, they're very hardworking, they try very, very hard, but because they have to factor in this additional expense into their lives that I just don't, they can't do things like quit a job they don't like and start a business. At least not with as much, at least not with the amount of stress and pressure like differential.
Yeah. That was one of the things, Liz, that was so compelling about your story, is that people are, when they take the loans and say, I'll figure out how to pay it off later, they don't understand that it's not merely the stress of having to pay it off. It's having to find a job to make enough money to pay for all the other things you want to do, plus these loans. It is the lack of freedom. And that's one of the things I often hear as sort of a pushback to the GRIT blueprint is that's too hard, or Like for example, one of the things that I'll suggest if somebody is interested in being a physician or a lawyer or a dentist is to go and serve in the military. And they're like, oh no, I could never do that because I don't want somebody else dictating my everyday. Well, if you've got $200,000 in debt, then somebody is dictating your everyday.
Yeah, like if you're there's like, and I have gotten I actually had a really hard reality check from a friend not too long ago because I was not recognizing properly how much easier this all was for me because I didn't have the loans.
Okay.
Because like they were in a job they hated and they were miserable. It was making
Uh-huh.
them miserable. And all they did was basically get on the phone with me at the end of the day and unload about this job. And I was just like, well, leave it.
Yeah.
Leave it. You sound miserable. Leave it. And they were basically like, and then how do I pay for stuff? Like, it's one thing to find a couple $1,000s a month to live off of, but it's another if you have that much in student loan payments that you have to be making as well. Because, like, a lot of the times, at least the people that I know, they didn't just take out like the state, I'm going to say this wrong, but like the state loans or whatever, like the government ones, they also took out private loans, which aren't always paid back based on how much money you make after college. So it doesn't always have that sort of like adjustment for how like for your income and therefore the amount of money you're supposed to be putting towards it. That's not necessarily true for private loans.
Mhm.
And that can really get you
So
from
basically, a friend was saying to you, you're not hearing me
Mhm.
because you think because we're both college graduates that we're on the same path.
Yeah.
And look, sister, we're not at all on the same path because I'm drowning over here in my debt.
Mhm.
And you are like, I'm going to go quit my job and I'm going to start my business.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the business. You were able to leave a job that you weren't crazy about, and oftentimes that first job right after graduation is not necessarily the dream job. I know for a lot of graduates, it is please hire me because every job description says, we want a bachelor's degree plus experience. And you're like, how am I supposed to get experience with my bachelor's degree if nobody, and so, once you get that first one, it's like, okay, got experience. That's great. So talk about the financial freedom of owning your own business.
Yeah. So I probably will have more to say on that once my business is, 5 years old instead of a year and a half as it is right now. Because there are definitely some I've been feeling like I've been caterpillaring a little recently, but
Got me.
like things were going really, really well and it was great. And so I started to scale. And as I started to scale, the work got to be a lot, but
Uh-huh.
I wasn't making quite enough money to hire people to help me with the work. And so
Right.
I'm kind of squeezing and I'm like gradually onboarding contractors and stuff like that to kind of help me
Yes.
emerge. So I feel like I'm like kind of caterpillaring in my business.
Yes. Yeah.
But the financial freedom that comes with this is like, at previous jobs that I've had, I have not been able to fully be myself in a position. I've always been a reflection of somebody else in some sort of way, and
Mm.
that made me feel a lot of pressure. I had
Mm.
one job where I was like, "Hey, I would like to tell the client what my name is, please," because she kept getting it wrong, and my boss told me no, and I was just kind of
Wow.
like, "But this is, but it's my name."
Right.
But there was nothing I could do about that. Boss said no.
Wow.
That was the whole thing.
Yeah.
Um, Nowadays, like I get to pick who I work with.
Yeah.
Especially since I'm in an industry that has a high demand. I
Mhm.
get to tell people no if I don't think we're going to be a good fit, or if
Mhm.
I don't think that if I think we're going to make each other miserable, for lack of a better
Uh-huh.
phrase.
Uh-huh.
So that's a lot of financial freedom. I get to spend my days in ways that like I want to.
Yes. Yes.
And that does not mean that I get to go and hang out at the pool with my laptop for 12 hours to call it a work day. That's not what I'm talking about. We're not like check in 5 and we'll see. But what it means is that like I get to make decisions about how I want to spend my time and how I want to make my money, instead of having every single thing about my day prescribed to me by somebody else.
Yes, that's really powerful. That is so powerful. And also, you were frustrated that you didn't get to say, you didn't even have enough autonomy to be able to correct what your name is at one place. And so it's not that being an entrepreneur is stress-free or frustration-free. It's just you get to pick the hard, and you get to pick those things. And so what is your
you get to pick how you combat the hard.
There you go.
Because like there is stuff that comes up that I would not have chosen to have to manage.
True.
But I get to go, how will I manage that? What feels good to me?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. That's an excellent point. What is some of your criteria? How do you evaluate if someone's going to be frustrating to you or you're going to be frustrating to somebody?
Well, there's a couple of different things. The first is that pretty much all of my like packages that I sell, I do a 90-day trial run.
Okay.
So like a lot of like marketing agencies will try to rope you into a year. And I will, after we've tried it for 90 days, because that way we kind of know what, like we kind of like in organic social media, you're not necessarily going to be seeing all of the results in 90 days. That's not really a realistic idea for a timeline there. But what it really lets you get used to is workflows.
Mm-hmm.
It lets you get used to communication style and expectations. So if like at the end of those 90 days, it's not a good fit, and I've done this before with a couple clients and been like, hey, we don't talk well. Mm-hmm. We don't communicate in a way that is productive for either of us, so it's not a good fit. The other thing is that like I'm just very opaque about what I do, what I charge, how I am. Like that's just that was one of the things that I got to decide to do with my brand and with my business. And so when I say certain things, I kind of just watch for reaction. Like when I explain like, hey, like you will probably not you will start to see results in 90 days. Some people react differently to that than other people.
Right.
When I ask people what they want to achieve with their social media, if the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, I want 10,000 sales, but they've got 20 followers in an inconsistent thing, or they've previously bought 50,000 and they're trying to lord over my head that they have 50,000 and I have the number that I have, and so they know more about it, even though they didn't get it in a real way. Like those sorts of things, they're good indicators as to like, and I see it a lot. Wow. Especially in Atlanta, like I see a lot of people who have like bought their stuff and it's just bots, but then they've still got this like, so I'm better because I have this. I'm like, no, that's not what that means. So it kind of allows me to suss out what they're actually looking for. I'm a strategist first. So when people say stuff like, I just want somebody to post, I tend to direct them off to a competitor of mine, but that's more their lane.
Okay. Yeah. So I am so clueless. When you were saying that they have bought, are you saying BOUGHT like they purchased followers, or are you saying BOT like AI bot?
Hilariously, like low-key the same thing in this situation.
Really? They're buying bots?
So it used to be that. Now you're buying more like you're buying accounts that are also generally buying accounts, and you're kind of exchanging each other. The reason this is useless is because none of those people are ever going to buy from you.
Right. So why would people buy that?
Credibility.
Okay.
Yeah,
so you're buying your credibility, which reduces the credibility, right?
There are a lot of accounts that have done this, and you have no idea. You look at the account, and you're like, oh, this account has 50,000 followers. Cool. And you look, and that's it. I know based on how I look at things, I'm like, all right, yeah, it has 50,000 followers, but it's got 1 like and 0 comments on every single post.
Okay.
Those probably aren't real people. or they are definitely not people that are actually interested in your content.
Gotcha. This is how clueless I am. And also, I would never pay. I mean, I have a lot of expenses as an entrepreneur, and buying followers is like not ever going to make the list of where I want to spend my money. So I really did not even know that was a thing. So, okay. All right. That's good. I literally, Liz, could talk to you forever. I would love just to hear the story of how you named your business Wildflower.
Oh man. Okay. So I decided to start my company in January of 2021. So I quit the job in August of, wait, was it January? What's this year?
23.
So January of 2022 would be. My business is a year and a half old. See, you guys, math is not my strong suit.
Okay, so yeah, January of 22.
Okay, so in August of 21, I quit my job, and I spent that time kind of meandering. It was not a very productive period of time for me. I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I knew what I didn't want to do. That I was trying to figure out how to monetize these skills that I had, because I knew that I didn't want to work for other people. And I've always really liked organic social media more than paid ads, more than a lot of the other stuff, largely because I have a PR background, and organic social media falls very nicely into like a PR mindset. So I was playing with different names. I wanted to do something along the realm of growth. I wanted to tie in organic. I wanted it to be natural and that sort of thing. So I was going to go with something floral, something naturey, something like a plant. That was kind of the thought. And so I wrote down a bunch of plant names. That was step one, is I just wrote down a bunch of plant names. And then I started thinking about it, and you know, I'm not as like a rose gives you a certain like a certain mindset when you think about a rose. It's you get an image in your head. It's this very romantic, very sophisticated, very like like I tend to think of roses, diamonds, and pearls all in the same realm.
Yes. You know? Yes.
And you got magnolias. Well, that's your southern belle.
Yes.
That's like and I was like, okay, I like those things, but that doesn't really represent me nor my style. And so I kind of thought about wildflower, and I was like, one of the things about wildflowers that I really love is that each patch is different.
Yeah.
And they can grow in a variety of different environments.
Yes.
And they thrive under all sorts of different circumstances.
Yes.
And that's like me.
Yeah.
And it's also like the businesses that I serve.
Yeah.
Because every single social media strategy has to be different for it to work. Like your goals and your unique selling proposition and how you position yourself. A successful one is unique, just like a patch of wildflowers.
Yeah.
And it was also very down to earth, very like playful, and that's very much what my brand is. So it ended up being just a good fit. And then I looked it up, and nobody in Georgia had taken it yet. So
yeah. Well, and also they are often, like your social media, they are often organic. I mean, like they're not necessarily planted because they're wildflowers. And so they pop up or whatever. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, I really, really, really appreciate the time that you've given both to my Debt Free Degree Patreon community and to the Friends of Financial Freedom. I'll be posting this in both of those places. You are such a rock star and so amazing. I'm so delighted our paths crossed. And I know that I will continue to see you because I just really appreciate the beauty and love and I learned something from you every single time I talk to you, Liz. And so I just appreciate that about you.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. So tune in next time for Pontification with a Pro. I appreciate y'all. Bye-bye.